Follow your peace.
Move to the right. Huh? Move to the right. Why? Move to the right. Sorry.
Today's joke is a true story. Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, is at a conference where he says if GM kept up with technology the way Microsoft does, cars would cost $25 and they'd get 1,000 miles to the gallon. So the reporters, of course, run to the CEO of GM and ask him what he thinks of this. He goes, well, that may be true, but they crash twice a day. Receptivity prayer. Let's say this together. I am open to the evolution of my soul. My mind is alert. My heart is receptive. My next step is here and now. And so it is. Thank you, Dana. All right. Today I'm going to talk to you about following your peace. What I'm really talking about here is that inner voice when we feel agitated and we don't listen to it, and then when we do, and then we feel peace. Like, for instance, sometimes it's really simple stuff like my wife and I were on our way to Dallas, Texas in the middle of summer, and as we're about to walk out the door, I hear this little voice go, grab your sweatshirt. I'm like, what? Grab my sweatshirt? This is Dallas in July. But because I've learned to listen, I grabbed my sweatshirt, and it was freezing on the plane. And I was so happy I had that sweatshirt. But I have, and maybe you have too, spent a lot of time not listening when that little thing says whatever it says because it doesn't make any sense. Right? Sometimes we get these feelings, that just are in us. Maybe they're not even words, it's just a feeling to do something, but our mind then goes, that doesn't make any sense, and then it's only afterwards we go, oh, now I see. It's not that little voice is prophetic, it's that it's a GPS that's guiding you, right? I think this is what I've come to about intuition. It's never wrong. Never, ever wrong. People think it is. And the reason they think it is because they don't understand how intuition works. So I'm going to explain it. Thank you. My pleasure. Intuition is an inner GPS that is guiding you to who you have come here to be. To get you to be who you have come here to be doesn't always mean avoiding obstacles. Doesn't always mean everything works out great. Because I don't know about you, but for me, my biggest growth times have happened during my biggest challenges. And our GPS, our inner intuition, that higher knowing that is within us, is guiding us to be the best person who we chose to be in this lifetime. It's not about what we came here to do. It's not about ease and grace. Though it's nice when those times happen. I'm all for ease and grace, trust me. I love ease and grace. But what we're here for is to rise from that place within us to keep growing, to keep opening our hearts, to keep seeing the bigger and bigger picture. And like I spoke about with the eagle who at 1,000 feet can still see its food, it's not that you don't see the details in the bigger picture. It's that you see them in a different way. You see them from an enlightened place. You see them from a place of where life can feel so good. Even when the circumstances can feel so bad. This is not an easy thing, but it's within all of us. And we have it to move us forward if we're willing to listen. All of us get these little notions in us all the time. A notion sometimes that's large, sometimes small, sometimes having tremendous meaning, sometimes not, but they're all about guidance. And the guidance is not to what you're doing. It's into who you are becoming in being. It's not just about being the change we want to see in the world. It's about being the person we came here to be so that we can feel good about ourselves. Good about how we behave in the rush and the mire of all the drama that goes on. Sometimes I think that there is so much drama around us just to keep pressing us to rise, just to keep pressing us to see more, just to keep pressing us to take that next little step that may be ours to take so that we can open up to a new paradigm, a new way of seeing. I know that that's true for me. I have had a personal struggle recently around the lack of growth of this center. I think I've mentioned this several times. And I have been looking at that and pondering that and being with that. And before I continue with that story, I want to talk to you. I'm going to get back to that, but I want to take you back. I want to take you back to a time when I was in the woods. I got this cabin in the woods. I know many of you have heard me talk about this before. But one of the things that cabin in the woods gave me was a lot of time to ponder. A lot of time to recognize and look at in tremendous detail and breadth the way I was living my life. And it was at that point that I realized that there may be a new way to navigate. There may be a new way to be in the world that I had yet to discover. And as I continued to ponder that way of being, I started to recognize this little voice in me more and more. And I started on the little things, like when to eat, when to sleep, just following this little movement in me and recognizing that it had tremendous power. Now, many of you have heard the story, some of you have heard the story about how I wound up in that cabin. My life was at an all-time low. And so I took 2 years there to discover for myself what was really true for me and how to move forward from that place of truth. And my life has just soared since then. Not like this, more like this, more like the kind of graph you usually see when you look at the stock market, with its highs and lows. But like the stock market, my life is at an all-time high. I get to be here with you guys on Sunday. And as I was looking at that, and now back to present time, I got to see how that played into who I was being if I was so worried about how this place grew. Who I was being in this. What happened next here. And then all of a sudden in this past 3 weeks, we had a deluge of tremendously large bills that just went piling on in a way that I had not seen since I started here. And the thing about it is I didn't get all that upset about it. Because I started to see in the paradigm shift that even this has to work out. And amazingly so, half of it already has. Because that's how it works. This is our teaching. This is where we come from when we find that place in ourselves where we feel that place where life actually is for our good. We have all kinds of stuff going on right now around sexual assault, around the Supreme Court, around all kinds of things that it's easy to buy into and go, oh my God, this is a drama. This is vital that it works out this particular way. And I am here to say today that however this works out, it's got to be for our highest and good, because that's how things work. Because this isn't about who winds up on the Supreme Court. This is about who we are being in the process of all this. What are we bringing forth? Are we bringing forth fear? Are we bringing forth our outrage? Or are we bringing forth our knowing that this teaching gives us, that there's something going on here larger than maybe we can see? Because I know in my life, on almost a daily basis, there is something going on larger than I can see. And when I find myself upset, it's simply that I forgot that. And there's this little voice guiding me towards peace all the time when I'm willing to listen. Do I always listen? No. I'm not that good. I'm still working on it. My wife will attest to that. I'm still working on it. But here's the key. Here's the thing about it. The work is worth it. I was just journaling about that this morning. The work is worth it. When you find yourself getting upset about something, remember our little quote on the outside wall there. To abandon the truth in our hour of need is to not understand the truth. And certainly this could be considered by many an hour of need for our country. This could be considered by many an hour of need in your personal life. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we know that whatever the outcome has to be for the good in the future, in the now, that brings out the future, that creates it all when we come from a place of knowing. And that place is not so easy to get to. It isn't for me. I take very, very long walks to get myself to be that person I want to be in the world. But what I do is that is my priority. My priority is never what I'm doing. It's always who I'm being. So when I get caught up in what I'm doing and realize I'm not being who I want to be, that's when it's time to shift. Shift gears, right? Shift gears. Follow the peace, because the peace is in the shifting of the gear. And so all of a sudden, I find myself opening to a greater good around this place, around our country, around the world. I find it, and my whole body starts to relax a little more, and I can feel it. And I was telling Ash last night that some places that have actually been pretty scrunched in me, all of a sudden are actually starting to feel kind of relaxed for the first time, and I'm talking decades. And so I know that the shift is really starting to happen because my body's starting to feel a little better and a little different. I'm starting to move more. And I find myself waking up singing, which is really fun. But this is what's possible when we focus on who we are being instead of what we are doing, and follow the peace. Follow that silent little voice even when your mind says, this doesn't make sense. Because that's really the key. Our minds are very, very logical, very caught in the physical, and very here. Now, am I saying your mind is not useful? No. Please do not get me wrong here. I am not saying that our minds are not useful. I am saying that there is something greater to be gained by taking our minds into our higher self, allowing the spiritual to come and be part of the physical, and allow the peace to come in no matter what the circumstance, because I guarantee you, you're going to take better action out of that place anyway, right? Who takes good action when they're panicked? No one. But when you're centered and clear and knowing the higher truth, it's so easy to see what that perfect action is. It's so easy to see what is yours to do next, the next step, you know? So the best place I learned about how to listen to this voice was at a firewalk. You get to a firewalk. You stand before this incredibly hot fire. How many people here have walked on fire? All right. So you guys know. Incredibly hot fire standing in front of you. You step up to it and you ask yourself, is this mine to do? Now. Is this mine to do now? And if you don't get a yes, don't walk. You'll get burned. I've been to 13 firewalks. I've walked 9 times. And I've had a chance to interview lots and lots of people who got burned at firewalks. And so here's the kind of answers, and I asked them the same question. What made you walk? What were you thinking about when you walked? And they'll say, I wanted to overcome my fear. I didn't want to let down my peers. Everybody else was doing it. I thought I could. The leader said we should be able to do this. What none of them said was, I got the yes, that this was mine to do now. You ask people who didn't get burned, like me, not a mark on my foot like ever in 9 walks, and they all say the same thing. I got the yes, it was mine to do. That's what's possible, the impossible of walking across fire when you know it's yours to do. Now, I know people who have walked and they've gotten kissed on their feet. That's what they call it when you get a little burn on your foot. They call it being kissed. I like the kisses from my wife better, just so we're clear. It's the clarity. It's the willingness to listen to that deep inner voice that we all have. It's so good and rich. Opening to something greater than your logical mind. I'm not saying that logic doesn't count for something. I'm simply saying there's something larger going on. And when we follow it, it's amazing. It's really quite extraordinary. There's a feeling of richness and miraculousness. When the doctors told me, I know that there are those out here, I've gotten feedback that I share way too much about my health issue that I've had in the past. But the reason I do it is because I want you to know that I'm coming from this deep place, this place where I have actually worked through so much of this stuff, because I had to. You're sitting in a hospital bed where doctors are telling you you have 3 days to live, get your affairs in order. It changes you quickly. You have to trust and believe in something way higher than I'm in the best hospital in New York City, surrounded by those considered the top in the field, telling me I'm a dead man. It changes you. And in that change, it gave me something to bring forth that I want you guys to know I've been through. I've been through the ringer on several occasions. So many, sometimes it blows my mind. Seriously. Sometimes I sit back and go, how did I live through all that stuff? How did I live through falling off a mountain? How did I live after the doctors told me I had 3 days? How did I live through 32 car accidents before my 21st birthday? I mean, you go through a life like that. It tells you, it brings you, it changes you. It changed me. It changed me to be a person who just wants to be up here and listen and give and look for something greater. Look for something greater going on. Because that's the thing, there is something greater going on. So I have for a while wanted to be the guy who could get up here without notes, get up here without bullet points, get up here without anything and just talk to you. But I was afraid. So when it came to this talk on Follow Your Peace, that inner voice said, it's time. It's your time to get up there without notes, without bullet points, and just let it flow. And I was like, really? And so my little boy voice was like, okay. And I started. And so all week long I'm going, maybe I should just write out an outline even if I don't take it with me. And the voice would go, no notes, nothing. Just get up here and talk. Just get up here and let it flow. And I was like, okay, this is my week to do that. This was my week to do that. So all I've been focusing on all week is not what I was going to say, but who I was going to be. And that's what I bring you today. I bring you the me, being me. And I bring it to you with as open a heart as I have at this time in my life. Do I think my heart can open more? Absolutely. Do I think that there are more levels to grow and move? There better be. But that's what we have when we follow our peace. Am I experiencing more peace in my life now than ever before in my life? Absolutely. My life is not completely peaceful, but it is more peaceful than it has ever been. So I know I'm on the right track. And that's what I offer here today. And that's what I encourage in you today. To reach within yourself. To listen to that tiny voice even when it sounds crazy. To grow. To be willing to rise when it's the hardest. Somebody was telling me the other day how hard it was and how they just couldn't take it anymore. And I have to tell you that's the moment in which the new paradigm is about to kick in. When things are at their hardest, when things are at their worst, when things look like you just can't take it anymore, if you can hang in there just a little bit longer, that's the time in which things shift. That's the time in which things become incredible. That's the time where the miracles occur. That's every single time I have felt that happen. And you feel it in your body, and you feel it in your beingness. And it feels so good. Don't be discouraged. If things are not working out right now, don't be discouraged. Know that this is just asking you to rise. Rise just a little bit more. Rise just a little bit higher. Rise to be just a little bit greater than you even thought you were. We all have this greatness in us. We must. We are part of an expanding universe that keeps expanding, which means until the day we transition, and probably even past that, we keep expanding. That's what we do. And so that's the focus. How are you expanding in your life? What is your next step for expansion? What is the way in which you can be even more than you're being right now? Because it is in that, not the doing this, not the results, not the things that are showing up that matter most. It is in the beingness. Be more. Be great. Be the spirit you have come here to be. I love you. Thank you. Take out what you're going to give and hold it in your hand. Unfold it. Unfold it. Because this is power. This is presence. This is how we get that law of circulation moving. The more we give, the more we receive. multiplied tremendously. So this is how it works. This is how we become that greater part of beingness, is through our givingness. And let's repeat after me. God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What we give, we receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.